Welcome to Defiance of Silence, a Sacred Witness. This is a space for survivors, healers, and witnesses to share their truth. Here we stand against the silence that isolates us and embrace the silence that allows us to be truly heard. I'm Valerie, your host, a U.S. Army veteran, nurse, and a survivor. Together, we will discover the power of being witnessed and the healing that follows. A gentle note, though, this podcast includes conversations about sexual trauma and abuse. Please listen with care and honor your own well-being. Thank you for being here to witness today's conversation. Hi, everybody. I'm excited about today's guest. I can't wait for you to meet her and hear this conversation. I am beside myself with excitement. I want to introduce you to Lia Coryell. She is a proud American, an Army veteran, a Wisconsin native, and a current Floridian. And she looks really good with the tan, by the way. She is an active community leader, an advocate, and an educator. So Leah was the U.S. Archery's first competitive female athlete in the W1 para archery class. She has a two-time Paralympian and a world champion. So she holds multiple world and continental and national records and has retired from the sport in 2022. So Leah has made American and world history by challenging stereotypes and defying limited expectations. She is the first para-athlete to be elected by able-bodied athletes to represent them as a member of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee's Board of Directors and as a member of USA Archery Board of Directors. Leah continues to build her legacy through advocacy and education and service to others. So welcome, Leah, to Defiance of Silence. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I wish everybody could know the Leah that I know. And they're about to find out probably that I'm the luckiest girl in the world to have a friend like you. So without further ado, let's get started with today's episode. Guys, as usual, let's start with just a little bit of grounding. So let's get present. Think about where you are, little inhale and an exhale. Pat your face, look at something, and just really notice that you're here, present, and ready to witness. So, Leah, welcome. Let's do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, tell me about your childhood. Let's start with that.
Okay. So I was born into a family in northern Wisconsin, very, very, very poor, uneducated. My dad was in prison when I was born. So that was like coming out of the tracks. My mom was illiterate, so she couldn't read. But I'm talking poverty to the level like I don't ever not remember going to bed hungry.
Wow.
Like we were just hungry all the time. Um, there was the things that happened in my childhood were due to poor choices by my parents and the people they chose to bring into our home. So when I say our home, I'm talking about we've lived in garages. I spent a lot of time in foster care. My brothers and sisters did. We spent time living at the Salvation Army, and back then you slept on church pews.
Oh my gosh.
Lots and lots of homelessness, poverty, and legal issues were going on then. So it is not surprising that there was trauma and abuse in that type of environment. I didn't know that the men, when my dad was in jail, that my mom brought home from the bar, I didn't know that it wasn't normal for men to give my mom money for cigarettes and then take me into the bedroom.
Oh.
I didn't know that wasn't normal. I didn't know that didn't happen to everybody. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that they were abusing me because they were kind.
Mm.
They were kinder than my mom, and they usually had candy. I did not know that that was abuse.
Can I ask you though real quick how many siblings you had?
What when I'm talking about now, there were four of us.
4. Okay.
Two girls and two boys.
Okay.
And my mom later remarried and my stepdad was a much, much more present, more educated, more in the thick of things. Unfortunately, especially for his kids, because they had more, and we were kind of the leftovers. In fact, mom used to tell people when they asked her how many kids she had, in reality, she had 8, but she'd say, "Oh, I have 4, the 4 younger ones." And she's like, "They're my real family." We were right
Ouch.
there.
Ouch.
Yeah, like just leftovers. But that was the theme of my childhood was the leftovers. We were the leftovers. But ironically, I was 9 years old before I was told that nobody else's soul lived outside their body and walked beside their human form to comfort and guide them.
Hmm.
So the thinking, talking, reasoning part of me was not Lisa. Lisa was the physical girl that I was floating behind and next to. So I know now that's dissociative. At the time, I thought that's the way everybody was, that you just floated behind Lisa or whoever your person was. And it didn't occur to me that other people did that. Um, Lisa was incredibly abused and manipulated, and her horrific things happened to Lisa.
Yeah.
But I didn't allow Lisa to feel pain. So, I was shot as a child. My dad was firing out of the back door and said, drunk and disorderly, and he was firing a shotgun. And he said, "You better get your fat ass moving." And I was not fat. And he literally shot me in the back of the leg. I did
Uh,
not cry
oh my gosh.
because
You didn't
Lisa
cry?
didn't cry. No, Lisa didn't cry because I was her
Oh,
soul. And I'm like, it's okay.
yeah.
It's okay. My job as her soul was to love and protect her and make things okay for her because she was just the
Yeah.
physical embodiment. But,
Yeah.
I was her soul. And I think this came from the prayer that I learned in a foster home. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, because I was Lisa's soul and I was protecting her while we waited for the Lord to show up. And just
Wow.
like every other being in my life, he didn't. Not
Mm,
then, not in a way that I could be tangible.
yeah.
But, recently I've had some really hard times and I begin to wonder, you question yourself, like, am I crazy? Like, am I mentally ill? So I asked him, because he knows me
You know
very
you're
well. I
doing it
said,
right if you're questioning if you're crazy.
I said, is my ability to disassociate on command, is that a sign of schizophrenia? Like, am I mentally ill? And he laughed and he said, hell no. The ability to mentally remove yourself from the abuse was a superpower and it saved your life.
Absolutely.
He
I just
said,
got
that
chills.
superpower,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
was a hell of a trauma response from a very creative, smart, and resilient little girl.
Mm,
And that was so empowering, and it just felt like validating. Like, was I mentally ill? I literally thought, like, to look at a mirror, I never saw me. I saw Lisa till I
yeah.
was 9.
Wow.
But when you come from a background like that, you're invisible to a lot of people. Like my teachers, social workers, people in the community. Oh, that's that family. Oh, that's them. I remember, I think I was in second grade. And when in the school that I went to, the kids that got free lunch had to stand in the hallway and face the coat rack while the kids that paid got to eat, and we had the leftovers. The
What?
leftovers. Do you see the theme? Yeah, this was in
Yeah. I
1970, so it's been a minute. But, you know, that's what we were, leftovers. And, obviously my family was not the only one in that line, but it was a very short line. And then I remember in second grade, I couldn't read very well. And there was a teacher's aide or somebody in the room that was going to help me. And the teacher said to her, "Oh, don't worry about her. She's not worth it." And I heard her.
ugh.
That day, I think I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I'm like, fuck you. Someday I'm going to be the best reader and I'm going to know everything. I'm going to know all the shit my mom and dad don't know because they don't know how to find the answers, or they don't care to find the answers, or it's easier to be a victim than be accountable.
Mm,
At 7 years old, I'm like, I'm going to know everything and I'm going to find the answers and I'm going to be the best reader.
wow.
So down the road, I could say now, as a 60-year-old woman, I have two bachelor's degrees, a master's degree. I'm halfway through my PhD, and I have a degree in research and information science. Now, have I been using them lately? No. But
And
if
for
you want to know what painting is hanging in the Japanese embassy, I can find that answer and tell you because I literally know everything. I'm really good at trivia
for the
because
record, you do know everything. You're the smartest woman I think I know on the planet. You know everything, Leah. So I'm just
because
sitting here in awe at this 8-year-old Lisa that says, "No, I'm gonna know everything," and you freaking did
I
it.
do not know
I'm
where that came from because my other siblings will tell you straight up. I don't know where she got that like will to do these things. And here's where that came apart. Val, is people underestimate, they expect no success from you. And I saw how they praised all the kids. They had the reading groups, the bluebirds, the robins, and the chickadees. And I was always a fucking chickadee because I couldn't read for shit. And I wanted to be a bluebird. But it doesn't matter to them because they don't expect you to read as a bluebird.
mm,
By the end of second grade, I was a bluebird. But the other thing, you talk about, you know, cogs in the wheel. When you're in foster care, you're not allowed to check out library books
oh, is
because
that still a thing? I
because
hope that's
they
still
don't get.
not a thing.
I don't think so, but because they can't get them back if you leave.
Mm,
So, and my mom didn't allow books at home anyway, because if you have time to be sitting on your ass looking at a book, you can be cleaning or taking care of kids or whatever.
yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. But I became resilient because I was rebellious. Tell me I can't do something. What'd you say? What'd you say? You can't do that. That has been the theme from very, very early childhood to yesterday. Tell me I can't do something or that I'm not worth it.
Right. Say I
That
won't. That's my favorite.
drive,
Say I won't.
yeah, say I won't.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
I'm not worth it because the things that I do now when we get into the little, I do it because I think of that little girl that thought she was a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
You're worth it. I'm going to
Yeah.
show you that we are worth it.
Oh,
You're going to be so proud of us when you grow up.
so powerful. So tell me how you realized that you had trauma. How did you come to that realization?
Well, because it started showing up in the courts.
Mm,
They would take us out or whatever. And I did realize that I shouldn't tell my teacher that the man across the street gives my mom cigarette money when he puts his hands in my pants.
mm,
And then I was always the liar, of course, because we're talking,
right.
early
Of course.
70s, 60s, or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
I think when that one teacher looked at me when I was 9 and said, "Yeah, no, you are not living outside your body." Just the look she gave me was pity. And to
Mm,
this day, I hate pity. Do not pity me. You can be proud of me. You can dismiss me, but don't pity me because I think that has no place and it doesn't do anybody any good.
no.
So don't feel sorry for me because I'm going to show you that's the rebel, which turns into resilience. Because if you're going to be a rebel, you have to figure out how to find success or you're not really a rebel. If you're a rebel that fails, yeah, that's not a good rebel.
I think you qualify as a good rebel.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I like to win. So,
yeah. Well,
um,
I'd say
but
so.
that's when I think I started to real. But even then, anything to do physically or sexually, I did not know what was normal, even all the way up to when I went in the military. So, in basic training, again, I was 18 years old from northern Wisconsin, and my drill sergeant had a thing for me, and he would corner me in the closet and feel me up, like put his
Mm,
hands up my shirt, try to kiss me, stick his tongue down my throat. And I'm like, bleh, bleh. I had never even kissed a boy. So I told the female drill sergeant, he's doing this. And she's like, well, make him work for it. What did you think was going to happen, Coryell? You joined the goddamn army, give it to him.
heard that before. Oh,
But I
that's
didn't,
gross. I'm sorry.
obviously, because
Yeah.
I know, but that normalized it for
Yeah.
me. And then,
Yeah.
and when I got really sick when I was in the military, ended up getting MS, and I had injured my knee. So I was medically retired at 19. And I moved to lacrosse and ended up going to college. But every 3 months, I had to go to the VA to have my knee reevaluated because technically I was still active duty. So I go to this orthopedic young doctor and he says, "Oh, well, we're going to have to check things out because I just need a baseline. So I'm going to do a pelvic." Okay. The only other
What?
pelvic I'd had was in MEPS, was going in where you put your feet in the stirrups or whatever.
Oh my
And then he checked out.
gosh.
And every appointment after that, he did a breast exam, like made me take my shirt off and felt my breasts and my belly. I didn't know that that wasn't normal because in my entire previous life, people touching your body was a normal thing. You didn't
Mm,
always get a say in that. And
mm,
he was authority.
mm.
So, and girl, I did not realize that that was abuse
Yeah,
until
I can imagine.
2023, 2 years
Oh,
ago,
wow.
58 years old.
Leah,
We were
wow.
having a discussion about military sexual assault, and then medical, you know, improprieties came in there, and I'm like, I think I was abused. 40
Oh my
years ago. I
gosh.
think that was abuse. I had no idea. And I think I'm an intelligent person, but when it's that normalized or you're that shut down, your body is that shut down. So I ended up getting really sick. They thought it was mono, they thought it was encephalitis, and it was a little bit later that they realized it was MS. If my body didn't shut down because he was doing that,
Mm,
your body remembers,
it does. It keeps
you
the
know,
score. And that's the theme through almost every single episode so far has been like their body keeps the score and it says when it's enough. And that's it did what it needed to do to survive and keep you safe. Like that's what it does, right?
just
So
like that little girl that found her way, your
yeah,
body has to find a way.
gosh.
And if you're not listening to it, I didn't realize when situations were harmful to me because I didn't know anything different. So even through my adulthood, over and over and over again, I found myself with people and in situations that were very harmful to me because I didn't know anything different. Yet every time my world fell apart, I rallied and came back
Yeah.
because you're not going to beat me. That's the rebel. That's not resilience then. It was rebellious. You are not going to win this. I'm going to overcome this because that little girl that tried to protect herself and her soul, the one that thought she was a shadow and not worth it, she deserves a win. To this day, when I'm behind the eight ball, that Lisa deserves to win. And ironically, I go by Leah, not my given name, because that's that little girl. And I
Yeah.
am Leah. So
Yeah.
my mom would say, Lisa, Lisa, God damn it, Lisa. I hated it. And then somebody misspelled a name tag when I was literally teaching, and it said Leah, and that is so soft. Leah.
Yeah.
And I became Leah. Now my family mocks me. Leah. It doesn't sound like Lisa. I'm still honoring Lisa because Lisa became Leah and she kicked ass in this world and
Yep.
continued to do that. I have done things like you read that have never been done in the world.
Yep.
That's why I do
It's
it
quite
because Lisa
remarkable.
deserves a win. She's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And by validating her, I'm validating me. But the aftermath of addressing and realizing that trauma happened. Now, I'm not talking about like when I realized as a kid, I'm talking about like a little later on in life. Is that whole environment is vast and it's endless and it's dark and it's a minefield and it will continue to show up in your life. This is not a one-time deal. Oh, I'm going to deal with my trauma. Okay, good, I'm done. No,
Yeah. And that's
no.
where you're like, do I have a sign on my back that says kick me? Because people
Yeah,
keep kicking me. That I felt like that for a long time.
yes, or I was inviting it, or maybe I
Mm-hmm.
was, oh my God, I was gaslighted incredibly by the people that were supposed to love me
Yeah.
and care about me. Oh, you're always talking about that, or it wasn't that bad. How dare you? But you know who was the worst gaslighter? Me. I was very mean to myself. I was a
Mm.
very gaslight. You're fine. There's nothing wrong. You're being dramatic. Da 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 da. And I had a child, was pregnant with my son, and he died in utero. And we didn't know it because it was a miscarriage. So we had to go into, he was the first one. We had to go into the hospital and they literally cut him up and aborted him and
Oh,
sucked him out.
yeah.
And I had to spend a day or two in the hospital and I came home and the nursery was gone. My husband and my in-laws took everything down.
Oh,
Everything was gone. And we didn't have that much up because I was only 5 months, but it was gone. It was like it never happened. Talk about being invalidated.
yeah.
I lost my mind because less than 6 weeks later, I spent 60 days locked up in a mental health facility because I heard him crying.
Oh,
I heard
Leah.
the baby
Yeah.
crying everywhere, and I couldn't find him because he was erased. That's the body keeps score with the mind. And they're like, there's no baby, there's no baby. I'm like, I swear to God, you can't hear that?
Oh,
Let it, you know, call it auditory hallucinations. Let's call it fucking trauma.
yeah. That just makes me
The fact
cry.
that I lost the child
That's
and that he was erased because, oh, Lisa makes a big deal out of everything.
you didn't get a chance to grieve him.
No,
No
but we didn't
closure,
let,
no release of any of that.
no, and there were times that I would try to get out of the locked unit to get to him because a mother's instinct is to get to her child. Literally tied me to the bed, literally in restraints.
Oh,
And then they realized I needed to grieve. I needed to grieve
yeah.
the loss of my child. And we worked on that for the last 3 weeks I was there. And that was very healing because I had to do that. But, did they do it on purpose? I don't think so. I don't believe they tried to hurt me. I think that was their way of dealing with it, like pretend it never happened.
Yeah.
And that's been my whole life. So that just set me off.
Yeah. That's the silence. That's what a lot of us do. Is it didn't happen. If I don't talk about it, it didn't happen. And then we project that on other people too.
And
Oh,
how do you heal from that when it's so dark and scary? Like, how do I heal myself? Or the things that happen to me without becoming a pity party. Because the thing I hate worse than mean people is pity people. Oh my gosh. I'm in, you can't see me, but I'm in a wheelchair. Oh, I'm so sorry you're hurting. I'm like, I don't have any pain. That's a good thing. How dare you assume that I'm hurting? And
yeah.
I ended up in the wheelchair in 2014, so 11 years ago. And we talk about the body keeps score. And I had progressive MS anyway, so I was struggling to walk. I was struggling with a walker. I was in a wheelchair sometimes, just trying to get around. And I had a really bad exacerbation, and it ended up in the Milwaukee VA. And the doctor came in one day, and I couldn't move anything. And he said, "You're done. This is what happens at the end of it. You've had MS this many years, 30 some years. It's not even progressing anymore. Your health is gonna, what is the opposite of regressing? It's just regressing until your systems start to fail. So tomorrow will never be better than today. So you better get everything in order and do all the things that you want to do because this will never be better."
Mm.
And I was devastated. I had two high schoolers at home and was a single parent. I was like, and then how fucking dare you tell me that tomorrow's not going to be better? What do you know? You're not in this body. But, at that time, I was trying to find safe space, sacred space to figure out who I was, what I needed to deal with, what I could let go of moving forward. And, I have a conversation. The Lord finally showed up 30 years later, 40 years later, and he said to me, and I heard it plain as day. I said, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" And he said, "Because you're not listening. You have great things to accomplish in this world, Lisa, and you're not doing it. I'm going to sit you down and slow you down so that
Oof.
you can do the things that are going to change the world." God said that to me, and I'm not even being weird about it. He literally said that to me, and that's exactly what I went with.
I'd say so.
Well, first of all, when you're trying to walk and you're in pain, it hurts. But when you're in a wheelchair and not in pain, I just learned to zip all over the place to do what I needed to do. So the first year I ended up in the wheelchair, I got invited to these adaptive sports camps where we went out to California and they did like track and judo. I was a 250-pound, 30-some-year-old woman. I'm like, I am not playing wheelchair basketball. I'm new to this chair. I keep falling out of it. And so we went to all these things and I had fun, but I'm like, I'm not doing this. Well, we got to archery and the lady said, I'm like, well, what do I have to do? I'm thinking I have to roll out on that field and go get the arrows. And she's like, no, you just sit here. I'm like, sitting? I'm good at sitting. I am your lady because I can sit with the best of them. So I sat in that chair and they taught me how to shoot archery. And then they invited me to a couple camps. Now, what I did not know then is they hold those camps, or they did, because they're scouting to fill spots for the Olympics and the Paralympics in sports. And they're usually lower level functioning injuries because in the Paralympics, it's a classification system. And so she said, would you like to compete? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, you're going to have to get classified where they're going to look at your medical records. They're going to test you and they're going to decide, what class you're going to be in. I'm like, oh, well, what do you think I'm going to be in? And she said, I think you're going to be a W1. And Michael was one of the guys on the team, and he was this harebrained guy that didn't think before he spoke. And he said, I said, well, what does W1 mean? He said, that means you're the most fucked up.
Oh,
I'm like, then I'm going to do this. I am nobody's pity party. I am finally getting things going. I don't want to do this. But my coach said to me, Randy Smith, she said, Leah, this is your opportunity to have not a springboard. What did she call it? Like to bounce forward. I can't think of what it is. Platform.
the platform. Yeah.
This is your platform to reach women and girls around the world and show them what can be done. Because in any of the continental Americas, we've never had a W1 woman be able to be competitive and make any of the teams. But I believe you can do it and you can change lives. See, the people in the right place at the right time, because that was devastating. So
Right.
I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do that. So like you said, I've been on 4 world championship teams. I've been to the Rio Olympics. I went to the Tokyo Olympics, and I won the world championships in Dubai in 2022 at 58 years old. And then I retired because I'm not stupid. But, and in between there, I was team captain for 7 years. I was on the board of directors. Leadership is empowering. Even when you don't feel like, I'm like, I don't know anything about a board of directors. And then you had to read all these rules, like you have to follow this protocol. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. But just raise my hand, call on me. I know the answer, whatever, whatever. But the fact that you have the opportunity to help other people realize what's in their life, is that not sacred?
It's so sacred. Yeah. When you put that forward in someone else, it does something for you too. And I can
Yes,
say,
and I'm not judging them. I
right,
wasn't judging
right.
the women that weren't being able to make it. I wasn't, you know, even judging myself. I just saw it as an opportunity because people said she'll never make it. There's no way a W1 woman, which means you have impairments. So I'm an incomplete quad. So with the level of impairment, they're like, she's never going to be able to do the training, the traveling. Watch me. Freaking watch me. And I did. For
Yeah.
9 years, I competed for Team USA. So I hold records in all of them. And for the last, from 2019 to 2022, actually it went through 2022, I was ranked #1 in the world. But even better than that, the number of women who are W1s around the world has quadrupled in Paris. They
Get out of
just this
here.
last weekend, no, they
Wow.
had World Archery in Chicago, and they had more W1 women that they've ever had. And they would, like, their coaches would contact me and say, how do you do this? How do you do this? I'm all about it. Well, this is how I hold the bow, and this is how I shoot the arrow, or see if you can load her arrow, or turn her chair a little bit, because it's in the long run, the sacredness of these women in their, third world countries, and they're able to represent their countries just like me. That little girl that thought she was a ghost, thought she was a shadow, thought that she wasn't worth it, was now mentoring people around the world. That's crazy. That happens because I think I don't want to say embrace my story, but I don't make it my only story. But when other
It's huge.
people are in that space, I can listen.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I can listen and just, nod and validate. You tell me all your frustrations. You tell me what you think. I'm not going to tell you what I think because you're going to figure it out.
Yeah. That's part of being a sacred witness.
But sometimes because of my trauma, I can't be a sacred witness. And I have to tell people that, even
Mm,
my own children. They're like,
yeah.
I don't need you to answer. I just want you to listen. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that today.
Can we talk about
I
that a
can't.
little bit, actually? Can we
Yes.
just flesh that out a little bit, what that looks like? Because I know you said earlier that, this trauma literally and the way that you were brought up, like it was a threat to your actual existence. So then you've overcome all
Yes.
of this stuff. And so many listeners, I promise you there's a lot of Me Too's happening. I'm shaking my head as you're talking too, just realizing some things for myself. But when you're talking about being a sacred witness, like how do you do that? How do you hold space for somebody and then know the wisdom inside? Like, what would you say to the listeners? Like, how do you hold the space without fixing and rescuing and just having the boundary to say, like, I don't have the space for this. It's not personal. And here's why. Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah. There's two very different things there. The one about being able to listen to somebody and validate that's all it is validating because they might think they're looking for answers, but they're not. They already know the answer. They're just, if I talk, that's even louder in their mind. I'm one of those people that has thoughts about thoughts that are thinking thoughts.
Right.
So
I think a
I
lot of
think
people
that's
have that.
more common
Yeah.
than you know. So that sometimes just by validating, just nodding. I didn't realize this is just audio, but if you just nod
Yep.
or lean forward, or maybe reach out and put your hand on them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and and actually, it's kind of a coaching technique too. So when you're performance coaching, if they're at the level that I was at, internationally competitive, like other people, and I'm coaching them, they already know what they need to do. They just need to know. They need to say it what they need to do. So the coaching technique is, and then, explain to me your shot process. And they'll start out and then they stop and they want me to fill it in. And I'm like, and then,
Mm-hmm.
and then what?
Yeah. Because how many times have you said, I just need to process this real quick, and you start telling someone the problem, and you, as I'm saying this out loud and hearing myself, never mind. I think I figured it out because
Yes.
I say this all the
Isn't
time.
that part of the
Yes, it's
process?
part of the process, and you can't read the label from inside the jar. I say that all the time to my
Oh,
kids. Like,
I love that.
you cannot read the label from inside the jar. So sometimes you do need an outside perspective to hear and to say things, but sometimes you already know and you just need to hear it. So I think that's important. So then the other thing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The other thing you were talking about, when you can't hold the space, what does
Okay,
that look
so
like?
due to my own mental health issues or whatever's going on with me, sometimes things are just a bad day. Like I'm not sleeping well or stuff are going. And sometimes if I kind of have an idea what's going on can be very triggering for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to set that ball in rolling. So, I'm going to validate. I think you should have somebody listen and tell them that you need them not to listen and not interrupt. That's not going to be me today because when I see a problem and I can't fix it, I will ruminate on it and ruminate, and that's not healthy for me. But I
Mm-hmm.
know myself because love to me is fixing, and
Yeah.
that's not true.
Right.
You can love someone and not fix their life. And
It's
I've
so
also learned that
hard
over the
though,
years.
right?
It is,
It's
yes,
so
it
hard,
is.
so hard. But when you learn that though, that's really actually love, honestly. When you love
Yeah,
someone enough to let them sit in their own dirty diaper,
yes.
essentially, so they can figure
Yeah,
out their own stuff. Like, yeah,
yeah.
I love you
There's
enough to say, I can't do that right now.
right. And for me, sleep is a big thing because I'm very spastic, literally on a spaz. But I wrote this down the other night. It was so I wake up, but I can't move. So I don't know what that's called.
Oh,
But
like
I'm
sleep paralysis
terrified.
or something.
I'm terrified.
Oh,
Like my
oh,
heart is racing and my watch goes off because I have tachycardia or whatever. It goes off because I'm literally at 200 beats a minute and I don't know what I'm afraid of because it's nighttime. I'm in a dark room
yeah.
and I'm afraid. That's back stuff coming into it. And I'm like, well, what is that? And you know what it is? It's consciousness on the edge of fear.
Mm.
That would be a good rock band for your kid, by the way. But that's what it is. You're conscious and you're on the edge of fear and you don't know why. So if I have a night like that, I cannot be the
Yeah,
person that listens to trauma because obviously, or if I listen to trauma and that happens the next night, then I realize I can't do that. First of all, it's not fair to them. It's not fair
I think
for
that's
me to,
wise.
yeah. And hopefully we can build a community of people. There are other alternatives. But for me, my first sacred space was a journal, was
Yes, talk
journaling.
about that.
I tried churches, I tried religions, I tried self-help groups. And I think I had some benefit from all, but I just felt like people either judged me or pitied me. Don't pity me or judge me. That's not my point. My point is I feel like I need to say this, but I didn't want to take the risk. I was fearful. So I started journaling. There were themes when I was journaling that began to emerge. And then I had this aha moment because every morning I would journal and journal and journal. And I like to write. I'm a good writer, journaling, journaling, journaling. And then I realized in going back, there were themes. And here's the theme. I was looking for a sacred space and I was like a place where would not be judged or pitied, where I could process the emotions and the body processes that go with this. So I realized that I had created a sacred space for myself within my own mind as a young child.
Yeah,
That was my first sacred space, was disassociating from the child that was being abused.
yeah, because she had to
I could
survive.
listen, but I couldn't respond,
Mm-hmm.
but I could comfort her.
It's
That's
powerful.
crazy
That is
that as a little
powerful.
child, I figured that out. Um, and I think it was at the same time with the journaling, I realized that sharing my experiences with others validates that little girl who thought she was a shadow and not
Mm.
worth it. Like that's other people that are struggling. So that's when I learned to be sacred to offer the sacred space for other people to do that like she needed. But it's been a rocky road and I've had some really dark times. This last year has been awful, but it's on the uprise now. Um, but finally, I have people like you in my life that I love, and I have to trust enough to break my silence. And I
Mm.
haven't had very much of that. I've had people mock me within my own family or married families, or oh, here we go again. You know, um, I needed to break my silence and share my space without judgment or pity. But I also know that I can be a safe space for other people so their truths can be told. And the thing that works for me is I don't have to have the answers.
Yep.
I can just listen and be that shadow girl.
And you are
See,
such a good listener. I know you and I have had a lot of talks that I'm sure people now are probably jealous that we've had, and we've had a lot of laughs and we've had a lot of good times with that. But you are one of the first people that I met um, when I really started getting into the real depths of what was going on with me that looked at me and said, I get it. And you never really said much else. And I thought, what the heck? She actually does get it. I could see it in your eyes, like that you get it. And um, for those that don't know me very well or don't know anything about me, Leah taught me archery. And so that became kind of a zen for me and a safe space for me to express myself for the things I couldn't say. Mm,
well, here's the thing with
chokes me
archery
up
and
thinking
you,
about it.
yeah, is your strength,
Yeah.
right? When you feel like you're so broken and you got nothing left in the body and you pull back that bow and you're a good shot and let that arrow fly, I'm not
Yep.
weak. Weak people can't do that.
Yep. And for the
But the
record,
other thing
Lia
that
Coryell, Olympian, just said I'm a good shot, you guys. I'm just letting you
she
know.
is, she's a very good shot. But she hurt her shoulder, so she's
I did.
got to work on a little positioning there for you. But archery, I think, was so appealing to me. Is it's literally an individual sport, like it's just you on the shooting
Mm-hmm.
line, but you are also part of the team. But for me, it was very zen because you cannot think and shoot your bow. In the beginning, If you ever see so I made it to the bronze medal match in both Tokyo and Rio. And in Tokyo, I set a world record and still didn't medal because I set the world record in an elimination match, not a medals match. But both of them, I made it all the way to the bronze medal. I could have medaled. And I got into my own head. My thoughts were thinking thoughts, and then they started to doubt me. And if you watch the video, you can see it. You can see on my face, and I've done this a lot in coaching seminars, when I went from I got this to oh shit, they just shot a nine and oh now I gotta shoot
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You can see it. You know you're not staying in your space. But when I won the world championships, the most watched archery video in the world is me. Because when I won the world championships in Dubai, I was so into my Zen space and just my little area around me. I didn't know that I had won because I thought we had more arrows to shoot. I wasn't counting how many arrows I shoot. I just shoot until they tell me to stop. And then I'd kind of go back into my space. And that's what I like about archery. That's the only time my thinking thoughts aren't thinking thoughts about thoughts. You can't. You cannot do that and do
Mm-hmm.
that well.
Mm-hmm.
The other time is swimming because I'm a very good swimmer because I'm very floaty for an old lady. And I can only swim on my belly and I swim with a snorkel because I can't turn my head to breathe. All I see is the bottom of the pool. And I swim outside here in Florida. I've been swimming outside since March 2nd. So I swim, paddle, paddle, paddle. I'm breathing. I got my goggles on. And there's just this dapple pattern on the bottom of the pool. And every length that I do, I say one thing I'm grateful for.
Oh, that's
So
nice. Yeah,
when
that's a
I
great idea.
swim a mile, that's 1,610 meters. That's a lot of laps.
Mm-hmm.
But I never run out of things to be grateful for because when I'm thinking about grateful, that's sacred headspace
Yeah.
because I'm not thinking about, oh, did I do this or should I do that? Or, you get those thoughts that just start spinning. You have to find something, whether it be music or, dancing or walking or whatever. For
Yeah.
Joey, it's riding his motorcycle. For Cassidy, it's being outside walking our dog. Whatever it is, everybody needs to find that one thing that shuts the thoughts off.
Yeah.
And then you'll find your space.
Like, how do you bounce back? So you find yourself, sitting in your driveway and you're a mom and you're sitting in your driveway and you're like, I can't go in that house today because I'm going to lose it. I can't do it. Or I can't go into work today. I'm going to lose it. Or I'm so depressed I can't get out of bed. Or the thoughts are thinking thoughts and those thoughts are thinking thoughts and I'm can't go to the grocery store anymore. Like when you find yourself in those positions, how do you bounce back? So we talked about this before we started recording about how you hear all these stories of resilience and you're incredible and so much to be taken from this conversation. But when you're in the thick of it and you hear somebody talking about there's hope and there's all this stuff on what we call the other side, when there's really not another side, we can talk about that too. But how do you bounce back when you're that low? Because you hear the stories of resilience and you hear all these beautiful things. And then you go, well, they're not telling me how they started. Like, how did this start? How did this start? And where's the middle of this journey? And where even am I? Have I even started this journey? There were so many times I thought, oh, I'm on a healing journey. And no, I'm so good. I am so good. Like I'm taking care of myself.
That's funny.
And I was terrible in between the ears, but everything looked good. I had this huge
Yes.
racket going that I looked good, so everything must be good. And when it falls apart and the wheels come off and you have to be honest, and the only thing you can do is look at yourself, like, where do you start? Where do you start? I started with people being willing to witness me, and it was hard for me to do. I didn't know how to let people see me. So, how do you start? What does that look like?
I can answer that. So for me, because I've had success, very public success, when I'm struggling, oh, you got this, you got this. And I feel like I can't be authentic. And, when I'm all up in my thinking thoughts, I'm like, I can't let them down. I can't let them see me struggle. But this last year, up until March, was horrible. So in 2023, I had two TIA strokes back to back. Then I fell out of my wheelchair at the pool in Texas and shattered my shoulder and tore my bicep off the bone. and I had to have surgery, but I had to wait 7 months to get surgery. So I'm in a manual chair, one armed, living independently,
Yeah, it's rough.
not, and in excruciating pain.
Mm,
And then I moved to Florida so my son could help me with this. But I don't think he realized how much I couldn't do either. I mean, and in the apartment we were in then, I couldn't even reach the countertops because I couldn't lift my arm. So I had the surgery and I was really, really down. I'm just going to be completely honest. I wanted to be done, checked out.
yeah.
Because for me, I have a disease that's going to kill me. It will, probably sooner rather than later. And I'm not worried about it because I'm good. I know that I've done good on this earth, and I know that people are proud of me, and I know God's proud of me. I did what He asked, so I'm okay with that. But when you're in that really dark space, like I don't even want to live, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want, no, I'm done, I'm done, and it scared my son. So how did I get out of that? I ended up in the hospital again. And the psychologist came in. He did not give me sacred space. He said, quit catastrophizing. He said,
Oh my goodness.
everybody dies sometime. You just happen to know it's going to be earlier. You are a hell of a woman. Your foundation has been tumbled over. Who you thought you were, because I can't even pull back a bow anymore. I couldn't drive, couldn't do, I had to cut all my hair off because I could not even do my hair or wipe, I had a
Hmm.
nurse have to come in and help me take a
Yeah.
shower because I was the only
Yeah.
one that my son did. But anyway, he said you need to rebuild your foundation, and you just forgot that you need to do that. So you need to redo it and quit catastrophizing about dying. I know you want to die because I can see it, but you're not going to die. That's going to happen on its own. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to rebuild it every day. I want you to add a brick to your brick wall to build that foundation up underneath you again. And I said, this is me. This is totally me. I said, well, I don't think I'm actually a brick, symmetrical, evenly spaced kind of girl.
I would
I think
agree.
I'm more fieldstone rocks. He said, whatever, Leah. Just rebuild it. Every day I want you to text me one win. It could be, I got out of bed today. That's your win.
Yeah.
And one thing you're going to do to rebuild your foundation, one more rock that you're going to do. So I had this visualization of this really cool rock wall that should be done in watercolor, but I didn't know how to paint watercolor. So I started to teach myself to paint watercolor so I could paint the fence on YouTube with my left hand to rebuild the visualization. This is my foundation. But here's the deal. It takes mortar to hold any kind of rock wall together.
Yep.
And the mortar is other people.
Thank you for
My
saying that.
rocks are
Yes.
dinged and broken and they're odd shaped and you got to
Yep.
put them in here and there. And, you know, but that visualization, that concrete thing to think about is what snapped me out of it. Absolutely. So yeah, I painted like four rock walls, and actually have given them to my doctors and my physical therapy because they're the mortar and Joey. But one thing goes to another because I'm gonna win. Once he told me to snap out of it, quit catastrophizing, I realized that I was.
I love some truth tellers. I have to say, that's how I kind of snapped out of my nonsense too, was just being told the truth. Like, look, you're not a victim, and you, not to say that what has happened to
Yes.
you is not real. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that, but you have choices. And I find myself repeating that to my little Valerie self as well. Like, you have
Yes.
choices. I'm here for you, but you have choices. Let's stay in reality. What are your choices? And I think when somebody's trying to crawl out of that pit, you can't even see that. And
Well,
I wasn't
because
real
your
happy.
foundation is
Right.
minefield
And I wasn't real
and
happy
you're
with people telling
blindfolded.
me the truth at first. Like, you guys are
Yeah, you're blind.
jerks. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
But now,
blindfolded. You got all these rocks on the
yes.
ground, and you don't want to take a step. Well, for me, I'm in a wheelchair, so I can go in anywhere through the rocks. But you know what I mean? Like going forward, it's scary. How am I going to do that? So then maybe you need to take the blindfold off and start getting the rocks
Yeah.
and bringing them over here. Because when he said that, he said, "How fair is that to your son?" You moved here so he could be your full-time caregiver, and every day he sees you like this. Even though he tries not to show it, you don't think that that's not weighing on him?
Mm-hmm.
There,
Yeah.
there. He said he knows it. We've talked. I've talked to him. He knows, and he's okay with it, but not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this. So I
Yeah.
said, okay. So yeah, I learned to paint watercolor, and now I make cards, and I just did a sea turtle and with my left hand. And now I swim. I've been swimming since March. So when I first started, I did seven laps, March 2nd or 3rd. And now I swim a mile, which is, I don't know, 70 laps maybe.
That's incredible.
And the crazy thing is I've swam 54 miles since March and I've lost 54 pounds because it's also important to take care of my body because if your body is taken care of, your mind is clear. And like you said, people don't even recognize me right now when they see me because I glow. I'm happy. I moved to a better apartment. I can see out the window. I have a balcony. I'm not stuck inside all day. I have a power chair if I need it. I can move. I've worked really hard in physical therapy, but those things didn't just happen. I had to find them along the mind path
Mm-hmm. And those are little
without
sacred
stepping
pebbles
in.
that you just picked up along the way. Something else that I just know about you is that you're incredibly hilarious. And so healing is also sacred, of course, but it's also hilarious. And there I think that people can mistake, or at least I can speak for myself. I used to mistake, well, if I'm having happiness about this or whatever, that then I'm letting everyone know that nothing's wrong with me and everything is just fine. And so when I started to come out with my truth and say, nope, I'm not okay, it was like that
Yes.
joy bulb just went out because I didn't have to fake it anymore. But then I started to get little glimmers of that back as I was healing. And that's a sign that you're healing, is that you can laugh at yourself and you can laugh at things.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's something that you've absolutely taught me, um, just by being your
Some
friend
people
and
will
just
think
knowing
that
you.
I'm using humor to cover pain,
I
but
think
I'm
there's a
not because
difference.
life is funny.
It is
Life
funny.
is funny. Like some
Here's
of
the
the
forecast for tomorrow in Land O'Lakes, FL. Look for lots of clouds.
Alexa, shh, Alexa, go back to sleep. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm dead. I died. The show's over, guys. That's it.
See, that's funny.
You can't make
So,
this stuff up.
so when I started swimming, I just flop into the pool on my belly at the Y, but I have to use the chair to get out. And they have, oh gosh, maybe 200 kids every day. They have a free day camp in the summer for kids in poverty. Me, they're me.
Mm,
And then they have a food program. They feed them lunch, they feed them breakfast, they feed them lunch, and they send them home with a sack for supper. I'm like all about it. The Ys here are crazy good. So, on Paralympic Day, the lifeguards are some of my they're young, good friends. Plus, I bring them snacks. I'm the snack lady. They're like, hey, would you want to give a talk to because the kids ask about you when you leave the pool. Like, why is that lady in a wheelchair? Or what's wrong with her or whatever? And he said, you have no idea who this lady is. She's not just an old lady, whatever. But he said, it's Paralympic Day, like in 2 weeks. Would you want to give a little speech? So these are like 5 to 11-year olds. So their attention span is about 30 seconds.
yeah.
So I come in there, in my uniform, and they're all sitting and clapping and stuff, adorable kids. And so I'm like, this is what I truly believe, that it's my story. Your life is your story, and you get to tell it, both the beautiful and the broken,
Yeah.
you know? And you are the author, and you write your story every day when you make decisions and choices, conscious or otherwise. You might want to admit it, you made a decision, and this is what it is. So that was going to be my lead in to these kids because I am them. We all have many different colors of skin and gray hair and braids and, all of this. But that was I'm like, this is your story and you write it. So I told him real quick the little story about the little girl who was told she wasn't worth it. And then I got to the park down the road where, um, about the archery team where people said she's not worth it. She's not going to be able to make the archery team. And his little boyfriend said, "Were you old?" I said, "I'm as old as I was now." old and chubby and grumpy, but I still tried. I tried really hard. And they're like, so what happened? So on my lap, I picked up all these little certificates. I said, this is what happens when you write your story and you make the decisions that have good outcomes. You get world records like this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. So there were 9 of them. So I gave him, and there you're going, USA. It was adorable, USA. And then I
Aw,
got out my world championship gold medal. And I said, when you're done, you can come up and hold it. And they're like, the counselors are like, oh my God, no, their hands are dirty. I said, what good is it going to do? I'm them. I am them
you were
down
what
the
they
road.
needed that day.
So what I said when I started is when I was a little girl, my mom couldn't read or write, and my dad was in prison. So we were in foster care, and one of the little kids said, what's foster care? I said, though, that's when you have to live with someone else because your parents can't take care of you. And they're like, oh, and they called it something else here in Florida. So I asked for questions, and the little boy in the front, this is adorable. This is how he interpreted writing your story. He said, can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure, what is it? He said, why do your arms jiggle when you wiggle them? I'm like, really? That's what he got out. Then the next little boy said, he stood up, they had him stand up, and he said, why was your dad in prison? And then the counselor got all, just like when kids ask me why I'm in a wheelchair. Don't make it weird. I am in a wheelchair. They're just stating the obvious. They're not being rude.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because my dad made choices about his life story that I didn't make. I didn't
Mm,
make the choices he made. That's why he went to prison and I didn't. I
mm.
did this. And he's like, oh, click, 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 click. So the next day they're all playing in the water and that's the lady. That's the lady that told us to write our stories by making good choices. And I'm like, they
It's
listened. It wasn't
precious.
about flippy arms. It
Yes.
wasn't about, irrelevant things. They
Yeah.
got it. But that's sacred too, to give your truth to people that need to hear it because I was them. I might
Mm.
look different now, but they need to hear it.
Yeah, and
And
you
they needed to know why I was in a wheelchair.
yeah, and you'd never know looking at somebody. I think that's an excellent point that you don't know what they've been through. I can speak for myself that I have wrongly judged many, and I'm sure people have wrongly judged me, thinking that I made up a story about them in my head of what I think they must be doing or thinking or what they've experienced.
Hmm.
And when your ego gets stripped away and you realize like we're all the same, we look different, we hurt different, but we are literally all the same. We have these little children inside of us that just need to be
We
witnessed.
are more
And
alike. We're
you're the
all
most
human.
powerful. Yeah, you're the most powerful to witness yourself and getting a hold of that. It seems weird,
Yes.
but it's
No.
extremely powerful. So I
Well,
thank you.
people do that with me all the time. I mean, you can see me, other people haven't seen me, but I am an older woman, full head of gray hair, in a wheelchair. People think, and I'm white. People think I'm a boomer. They think I'm a Karen. And when the lifeguards, when I first showed up, they were like, because there are some Karens at the pool, let me tell you. And when they realized that that is not who I was, but that happens all the time. People
Yeah.
see me and they think that they know me and they don't know anything about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't tell, I rarely talk about that, like what we've
Right.
talked about today,
Right.
because I don't want it to rule my life. I don't want it to be my thought of every day because it has been. And those were awful years. Do I need to honor that grief? Because that's what it is.
Yeah. When it shows
Grief.
up, yeah, you have to. And that's
You
that's
have to
part of
grieve the
having a
loss.
witness. Mm-hmm.
You have to grieve, and the losses are many. I mean, the loss of one of my grief was the loss of my husband who wasn't who I wanted him to be, and I
Mm,
left.
mm,
That's grief. I did
mm.
that. I still think it was the right thing to do. But choices that you make, you have to grieve that. For me, even archery, did I really want to give up archery? No, but I have to grieve what I thought was going to be versus what is now. And you can't just say, oh, I was wrong. Your
Yeah.
mind and your body will come back to bite you.
Yeah.
100%. If you just like try to sweep it under the rug, you have to grieve
Hmm.
what you thought you were going to be like, or you were going to have, or anything.
Man. And that's
Grief
some,
is underestimated. I think we go to anger and we go to victimizing
yeah.
ourselves
Yeah.
before we realize this is just grief.
Yeah. I didn't even realize, and this is going to sound really naive, but I didn't realize that I had grief because I'm like, well, I haven't experienced major loss. Oh
Oh my
boy.
God.
Oh boy. Boy, sweet little Valerie. She had no idea.
Yeah.
So when you
Well,
get to that
denial,
grief,
denial, denial.
yes,
Yes.
when you can
Yes.
get to that grief and get to a place where you can express that, and that's what changed for me was I was able to touch, just barely touch that grief and have somebody else literally beside me to grieve it with me and not
Yes.
tell me what to do with it, not tell me it wasn't what I thought. Like that changed everything. And that really has opened the doors. That's why this whole thing was born. That's why we're having this conversation now, because I feel like it's important. I feel like people need to know. And I thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty as always. I don't know you any other way. Um,
Well, I think if we grieve and go through the grief process of trauma, we're less likely to see ourselves as victims because that
yeah,
bothers me. And, you know, in the MS world, they see themselves, I'm generalizing, I have seen many people who are victims and not survivors.
yeah, yeah,
And really, it's grief.
yeah.
Nobody chooses to have MS,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and you have to grieve what you thought, the life you thought you were going to have. And that's when that doctor told me tomorrow will be never better than today. How dare you? But I had to grieve that loss. And I'm like, he's making me grieve a loss that I didn't even need to grieve. Just
Yeah.
because I'm on wheels, it's like sitting on a skateboard. He don't know nothing about me.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is never going to be better than today. Guess what? Tomorrow is better than today. Every day, tomorrow is better than today because you're here.
Yep. I have a sign in my meditation space that says every day is an opportunity to start again. And I thought that was kind of cliche at first when I saw it, but it really spoke to me. And I
That's a
truly,
beautiful.
I truly like, yeah, I get to start over. Like today wasn't maybe awesome, but I can start over and so can you. And I can give other people a
Exactly.
chance to start
Every
over
day is
too.
a new,
So
yeah, is a new chance. Don't let people tell you what they think. Oh, I'm so sorry. You had this trauma or that trauma. First of all, why would you start off a conversation like that? I'm so
mm-hmm,
sorry.
mm-hmm,
Not that you're glad,
mm-hmm.
but it is. It just is.
Yep. It's just what happened. It's not the story of my life. It's a story in my
No, it
life.
doesn't get to
Yeah.
define me.
Yeah.
And that is something I talk about all the time. It doesn't get to define me.
But that's
Not
so
my
powerful.
childhood, not
So
losing my
powerful.
son, not being in a wheelchair, not having 3 strokes in 2 years. That isn't who I am. It's what happened to me.
That's right.
People used to say, well, tell me about yourself. And I would say, oh, my name's Leah. I'm a single mom. Um, I have MS. I grew up in a very poor family. Why? And then I realized that's the dumbest shit you ever let come out of your mouth, girl. So now when people say, tell me about yourself, I say, well, I'm freaking funny as hell. I'm
Yes, you are.
smart. I know everything. I'm artistic. I'm funny. I'm creative. And they do that. They laugh. But I truly believe that's who I am. I don't know why I used the way other people saw me or I thought they saw me as a way to define myself. We get
Mm,
to choose it. It's our
yep.
story. We get
That's
to
the
tell it.
story that they made up about you, and you don't have to follow that narrative. But
No, because we get to write our own story.
that's right. So for our listeners, if you could leave them with one thing, one last thing before I ask you our closing question, what would that be? One last thing. What do you want them to take from, if anything, they've heard today?
I want them to know that you're not what happened to you. You get to choose who you are and what you want to be or what you want to continue being. And that is a personal choice, but you are not what happened to you.
Mic drop. That's it right there. So I like to ask everybody, speaking of holding space for others, when you hold space and you have witnessed somebody or you've taken on some of their grief or you've listened, or even just listening to you talk today about your story, what is your personal practice for releasing that so it's not yours to carry?
When I've heard something maybe kind of heavy,
Mm-hmm.
it's not who they are. And look at them sitting there. Look at them sitting there telling me this awful shit that happened to them. And they're talking to me. They're not underground. They haven't killed themselves. They're not hiding.
Mm,
Go you. That's how I let it go. I'm like, you're here. You are
that's beautiful.
accounted for and present. And I could let it go because I know it's a huge weight to get off your shoulders and to just hold space. But I usually say, I tell people, grown-ups, this a lot, and you would not believe the number of people are like, I can't remember the last time I heard that. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, that's huge.
I'm proud of you. And grown men get teared up. They're like, I cannot remember the last time somebody
Mm,
told me that. I am proud of you.
that's beautiful. Well, I'm
Showing
very
up.
proud of you for showing up
I'm proud of you
today.
too.
I'm
This is
so,
amazing.
so honored that you came on the show today. And for the listeners out there, I just want you to take this in, what Leah said to us today, and just, if you take nothing else away, just like she said, you showed up, we're proud of you, and you don't have to carry this stuff alone. And if you just take a moment and pause as we close our session today, just know that you're going to change the world, just like Leah said. You're going to change the world. She had a mission to change the world, and she's doing it one moment at a time with every encounter that she makes. And I'm just honored for her to be here today. So as we close, just take a breath in and out, and maybe let go of just one piece of shame, one piece of something that you don't want to carry any longer, that doesn't serve you. Let it go. Until next time, thank you for witnessing us in this conversation. Thank you for being a sacred witness for today's episode. If this conversation has brought up difficult feelings, please remember to take care of yourself in whatever way you need. Healing is not a straight line, and you do not have to walk this alone, okay? So if you need additional support, please reach out to a trusted friend, a professional, or a resource in your community. There's resources listed in the show notes as well. Your well-being matters the most, so thank you for being here and choosing to listen with care. Until next time, remember that you are loved and worthy of being witnessed.